If you watch any sort of dating content online, then you would think that women are sleeping around a lot nowadays. But when you look at the real data, that idea falls apart. Because in the United States and Western Europe, women will sleep with between 4 and 7 men in their entire lifetimes. So that is not 20, that is not 50, and it's definitely not 100, like many red pill guys like to believe. So where does this idea come from, that women are sleeping around with so many guys nowadays? So what is actually happening is that content creators and social media put the magnifying glass on TikTok Reels and on the extremes. They take a few stories and anecdotes and they extrapolate that to the entire society. Because I will not deny that there are promiscuous women out there, but they are in a tiny minority. But if we're talking about the 95% of women out there, they're not sleeping around like these guys like to claim. So why does this narrative then exist? And the real reason that this narrative exists is because it enforces men's victimhood. And that's how men pretend that their dating outcomes are not their fault. But the brutal truth is that dating is easier than it has ever been before in human history. There's an unlimited supply of women on the internet that you can date, but many men are still not getting dates. So it's clear that the problem is not women. The real problem is that men are unfortunately just not showing up at all, or just not showing up properly. And when you fix that, it becomes very easy for you to get results. And if you want to do that, then follow this page. One of the biggest problems with red pill men is that they are incredibly bad at math. Because these men believe two things simultaneously about the modern woman. They will believe, number one, women are promiscuous and they sleep around with many men nowadays. And then they will have belief number two, which is modern women have way too high standards and they reject most men. And if you listen to these two statements, then you will come to the conclusion that both of them, they cannot go through one door. Because if women are sleeping around that much, then their standards are low. But if women have very high standards, then they are very selective and they sleep with very few men. So that's why my question to red pill guys is, which one is it? And I know that many of you guys now will run to the comment section and start writing insults or angry comments because someone points out your contradiction. But the truth at the end of the day is you need to pick one. Either modern women have low standards and they sleep with many men, or modern women have high standards and they sleep with few men. Which one is it? So let me know in the comments which one it is, because I'm very curious about it. Feminism has ruined dating and relationships. That's what this gentleman says in this comment. But here's one thing that I personally do not understand. If feminism truly destroyed dating, then why are there still so many people out there having relationships and having kids and being happy? Dating still works, but for certain men nowadays it doesn't. Because from everything that I see, dating didn't get ruined. It just became more competitive and that's it. What exactly did feminism do to our society that makes you not be able to succeed in dating? Just drop it in the comments, because I'm very curious, because until now I haven't heard a convincing argument that feminism truly ruined dating. If you listen to people online, then you will think that dating in 2026 is absolutely terrible, and that dating in the past was amazing and that it was very harmonious. And this idea sounds very good, but it's what we call the nostalgia bias. Men fantasize about some supposed past where everyone was winning in the dating market, and some past where men didn't get rejected, and where there was no ghosting, no cheating, and no failed relationships. And that idea is just a fantasy, because dating was always messy. The only difference now is that dating is more competitive than ever before. Women as well as men have more choice than ever before. But many men will blame modern dating or the times for that dating is the way that it is nowadays. But the reality nowadays is that dating is better than it has ever been in the past, because there are way more options and there is never a reason for you to settle with someone just because she's the only girl in your hometown. The problem is not modern dating, the problem is how men go about it. So stop blaming the times and start changing your inputs. Get a proper dating strategy, because once you have it, it's way easier than it's ever been in human history. Follow for proper dating tips.
The reality is that if a man's a loser, society reinforces that. If a woman's a loser, society does not reinforce that.
And what is your solution?
Start telling women that they're retarded and they're losers. If we shame you guys again, things will work. But we don't shame women anymore.
In what sense? How are they going to work?
So if I went around to every girl that's 30 and I said, you're single, and said, you're a fucking loser, and shamed them for it, and then we made fun of them for it, and we had maybe in China, we call them Christmas cakes, yeah, right? Or Shinyu. Or in Japan, they call them, there's another term they use. But in the Asian countries, they make fun of what, she could probably attest to this, They make fun of women that are past 25 and not married.
Right.
Now it's very funny that he picks China and Japan as examples, because those countries, they have an even lower birth rate than most Western countries. That proves the point that I'm making all the time, which is that shaming women doesn't work. It doesn't work in Western countries, and it also doesn't work in China, and it doesn't also work in Japan. And let's be honest for a moment, the internet is already full with guys shaming women all the time, and it's just not working. But more importantly, shaming women doesn't help men to get dating results, and shaming women doesn't make you an attractive man. It makes you unattractive, and it makes you look bitter. And if you want results in your dating life, then you're not going to focus on what other people out there are doing. That's just totally irrelevant. You would work on your skill set and work on the things that you need to do to get the results that you want. And any activity that is not making you better as a man and that doesn't bring you closer to that goal is an absolute waste of time. So forget about shaming women, because it's totally pointless, and we have to prove that it doesn't work anywhere in this world. And follow for more dating tips.
Promiscuous women are going to be promiscuous anyway, so you might as well train on them, figure out how they behave, because all promiscuous women have certain traits. Identify these traits and make sure your fucking wife never has any of it. Because I'd rather the guy have 300 body count, show up on his wedding day, and commit to the girl that's 301 that he knows isn't a fucking 304. And that's how it goes. Men have to date defensively now, because a lot of you women are not worthy of a long-term relationship. A lot of you guys are fucking sluts. A lot of you guys are more experienced than us sexually. A lot of you guys don't want to be wives. You just want to get married. And quite frankly, we bear all the fucking risk when we marry you guys.
I agree with him that men should get a lot of dating experience and also learn how to date defensively, especially. But the premise that he starts with, that most women are going to sleep around and have a really high body count, there's just no evidence to back up that that is actually happening. Now, if you look at the data from most Western countries, women are going to sleep with somewhere between 4 and 7 guys in their entire lifetime. So that is not some out of control promiscuity that people like to believe is actually happening in society. But because of this idea that so many women nowadays are so promiscuous, men are building their dating strategy on a false premise. So yes, get a ton of experience, but forget about this idea that women sleep around as much as that guys would like to believe, because it's just not happening. And follow for proper dating tips. The biggest myth that passport bros fall for is the idea that women abroad somehow have lower body counts than women in Western countries. But if we look at the data, then we get a totally different picture. Because in the US and Western Europe, most women will sleep with between 4 and 7 guys in their entire lifetimes. But let's look at some countries that passport bros love to romanticize. In Poland, women will sleep with between 3 and 8 guys in their entire lifetimes, similar to Western countries. In Russia, it's pretty similar. In Colombia, it's between 4 and 10. In Brazil, it's actually a little bit more than in most Western countries. And the Philippines also has a similar range. So based on the data, we can see that Western women are not somehow more promiscuous than women in other countries. So this idea that you're escaping promiscuous Western women by going abroad is just a bunch of BS. And this also largely lines up with my experience dating on different continents. And sure, there is a very small percentage of women that sleep around, but over 90% of women are serial monogamous, whether they live in a Western country or in Eastern Europe or Latin America or Southeast Asia. But what's really happening with passport bros is that they are not getting dating results because their dating input just sucks. So they blame Western women and pretend that it has nothing to do with them, which is just delusional. If you are smart, then don't look for shortcuts in dating, because you need to do the work, whether you go abroad or stay in your home country. Follow for more dating tips. One of the most essential parts of red pill ideology is men's addiction to the idea that all women are stupid. And this is of course not because it's true, it's because guys use this as a protection shield, and they use it to feel better about themselves. Because when you get rejected, you can either choose to level up so that you get rejected less, or you can just disqualify the outcome and say, well, the outcome was never worth it. Sleeping with women is pointless because all of them are stupid. You do not have to become attractive and become socially competent. You can just opt out and then just tell yourself, well, I have high standards. And it gets even worse for these men, because they will pretend that guys that succeed with women are wasting their time, and they will say, well, these women are stupid anyway, so it's not worth it. But let's look at the reality for a moment. Because the uncomfortable truth that these men do not want to face is that there is an abundance of great women out there. There are many women out there that are smart, intelligent, they are social, and they make your life 100 times better if you date them. But red pill men are not going to admit that, because that means that they need to take responsibility. Because if they disqualify the outcome, then they never have to ask themselves, okay, what do I need to do so that I actually get the results that I want and stop getting rejected all the time. And the truth is also that if you're watching content that is doing nothing but shaming women, that it doesn't help you in any way. It makes your life worse because you're not going to become good at dating if you hold these perspectives. That's why you want to be smarter than this, because your life and your happiness depends upon it. Learn the skills that you need and start accepting that there is an abundance of great women out there, because that's the truth. Follow for more dating tips.